Welcome into the Cowboys Report live again here on Monday. I am Tom Downey, Stone Shields behind the scenes producing today's show. How about all things Cowboys on today's video? Some injuries, rumors, preview stuff as well. Well, we are kind of at the quarter-way mark of the season. We're not actually because they added the game, so we can't do the quarter-way mark anymore. It's not possible. But at the normal quarter-way mark of the year, will the Cowboys make the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. 52% say yes, which I find funny because if I'd asked this question at the beginning, when we did ask it, the beginning of the year was much higher, even though I had them at 2-2 at this point. Now, they haven't gotten to the 2-2 the way I thought they were going to, and I think there's been some concerns with the way things have gone and overall long-term outlook there. But will the Cowboys make the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. It is now 50% voting yes. Everyone's down bad. I get it. The vibes have not been great. And I think there are very real concerns about how you get the vibes to be positive again and what moves this team we would like to see them make, but know that deep down they probably won't end up making. So get those votes in. Y for yes, N for no. DB Paco says Tom for QB1. Again, as I've said before, that is attempted murder. I cannot play quarterback in the NFL because of the everything about me. All right? The everything about me does not mean I'll be able to do quarterback in the NFL. I don't have the mental capacity. I don't have the athletic ability. I don't have the size. I don't have the ability to survive and not die. And I literally mean die. So this is attempted murder. You guys are trying to kill me out there. Come on. Y for yes, N for no. It is now N for no with a narrow lead. You know, it is really hard to get a 50% 50% vote ratio on anything here. The fact we're there on will they make the playoffs is accurate and yet concerning as well. So Y for yes, N for no in the comment section. Get to Roman Wolf Gaming Super Chat after a word from today's sponsor. That is Game Time. They got a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes connecting to your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It is curation designed to make it easier to see your next game, concert, comedy show, theater event, whatever. Game Time has you covered for Cowboys and beyond. They're all in pricing. It's a feature. You just toggle that off or on or off if you want it. Shows your total up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. You get the panoramic view from your seat with the Seat View feature on the app. And the lowest price guarantee means you will get 110% difference from Game Time if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. So, head over to GameTime.co, download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. What time is it? Game time. Roman Wolf Gaming, a $5 super chat, says trade for Myles Garrett. I assume that's who Myles G is, right? Okay, not happening. Get Randy Gregory back. Probably won't happen. Make Parsons a linebacker, DeMarcus Lawrence D2 when they return. Deal will be fixed at that point. Yeah, it's the definition of wishful thinking there. But you're dreaming big, and I respect it. But yeah, there's no chance that they would ever consider trading away Myles Garrett. He's too important. Now, you're going to be down, it certainly sounds like, Micah Parsons through the bye week and DeMarcus Lawrence probably beyond that. So, of those two players, I put them in the wrong order. Let me flip this. Sorry, don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. Hold on, I put him in the wrong spot, like a big old dummy. It's obviously type 11 for Micah Parsons and type 90 for Tank Lawrence. Should fix that in a second there. So, get those votes in. 11 for Micah Parsons, 90 for DeMarcus Lawrence. Both of them should be fixed there, Stone. That is me being stupid and mixing up my numbers there. Very, very dumb of me. 11 for Micah Parsons, 90 for DeMarcus Lawrence. Let me know what you think the bigger loss is between those two players there for the Cowboys, 11 or 90. Calvin's got 11. Bart's got 11. Brian's got 11. Raphael's has 11. Great Duke Bothers has 90. Jose S. has 11. Cam Hauser's got 90. Brian Perry, 11. D-Money, Robert Brown, Caesar. So pretty split there as well. Might feel Tank's lost more in the run defense, but you're going to feel both those guys' absences felt pretty significantly over the next couple of games. Marcus Arnold, $10 super chat. Zeke is not cooked, and our running backs are not bad. There are no holes to run through. The scheme is bad. Change the scheme to get better results. Even if we had Henry, we'd have had the same problem. I do think that the scheme is a pretty big issue for you. And this is stuff that I had said all offseason. And I think we're seeing it again. That this inside tight zone scheme isn't very good. I will say I think Henry would be better for you, but I don't think he'd be as good as he is in Baltimore right now if you just plopped him into this offense. With the way they want to run the football, I don't think it's gone very well. I think there's multiple different layers of issues. Your O-line has not done a good job of run blocking consistently. The scheme is not good. It doesn't benefit your players. That comes kind of back to the Dalvin Cook conversation we've had. If you put Dalvin Cook behind this exact same scheme, it's not going to work. You have to run outside zone. Your head coach has said that. Would they do it? I don't know. ISO, I think we could trade for Christian Kirk from the Jags. I don't. You could do it. I would have question marks if that's a type of move that they would really want to do. He's not been that great this year. He's supposed to be this vertical slot player, and they've kind of used the more short area slot stuff. And he was coming off a nice touchdown catch against the Texans. Don't get me wrong. He's also due. What's the cash here? He's due 14.5. 15.5. He's due $16 million now, prorated. I don't know if that would be a financially prudent decision that the Cowboys would be interested in doing. But talking about Jags players in general is probably a good idea because they look pretty terrible right now. Calvin Jefferson, I'm at the point where I want Lipke getting reps over Dowdle. He's a better player. Look, I've been very impressed by Hunter Lipke. He did have more snaps than Rico Dowdle. I also think he's a different player than Dowdle. Even with this increased workload for Lipke, they haven't really deployed him as a real running back. They've deployed him as this H-back, fullback, tight end, running back hybrid. Kind of almost frankly, it's more like Taysom Hill minus the passing is kind of how he's been deployed in previous years from Taysom Hill without the Wildcat threat there. I still question him about as a pure every down runner. He runs really far forward, and it always makes me nervous. Makes him a great short yardage back. I'll say this. They've given him the reps that they've been given to Zeke Elliott. They've dialed back Zeke Elliott's snap count, and Lipke's snap count has gone up. Brandon J. Commanders look like they will win the NFC East. Their schedule is a cakewalk. It'll be tough to get a wild card spot with what this roster has. I do think you're going to have to be fighting for a wild card spot. I still not out on the Eagles necessarily, by the way. I would also like to say this. The Commanders are on a great 3-game winning streak. And they might make it 4 against the Browns. The Giants, Bengals, and Cardinals have terrible defenses. Those are some of the worst defenses. The Giants were one of the better ones they've played this year. Now, they still have several easy games on their schedule. It also gets a little bit tough for them down the stretch. When they play Steelers, Eagles, Cowboys, Titans seem bad. On the road against the Saints, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. So your schedule is kind of the inverse of them, where they still have the Browns and the Panthers and Bears and Giants early on this season. But then back end of November beyond, that gets a little bit more challenging for them. So I'm curious how they fare in these next 2 games against the Browns and Ravens. Because I love what I've seen from Jalen Daniels outside of the Cowboys fandom buckets. But I got to see him do it against, not the Giants, Bengals, and Cardinals. And even against the Giants, they were okay. The Bengals Cardinals are a bad defense. They're just bad. They're 2 of the worst defenses in football. Marcus, the trade will give you the best return without giving a draft pick is Zach Martin. Hoffman can replace him and wouldn't lose much production. I do think you would lose production, though. You'd also probably play TJ Bass before you play Brock Hoffman. I think the other issue you get into there is if you're trying to be a contender and you're trading away one of your Hall of Fame players, a vet leader, that might not go over very well in the locker room. I think you would maybe almost be more inclined to trade someone like Brock Hoffman and get something else back, although the return obviously is going to be less impactful there. But if you're trying to win games, even though he is very much now mortal and is human, I would be a little bit surprised if they moved on from Zach Martin. It also causes salary cap complications by doing that, because he's got a big dead cap hit next year that would then be accelerated to this year, and that's probably not something the Cowboys want to go down and pursue. Here's today's Super Chat menu as well. We're supposed to have a flag football game today. Then first they bumped the time up by 2 hours and was going to screw me over, and I might not have been able to go on. And they canceled it anyway because of all the bad rain. So we're back to the Super Chats instead today. We can do shots and drinks. $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $100 for the bong, slap, and shot trio. $500, you get a custom Cowboys jersey. This is the final day for the most hundreds in September. Anthony McMillan has a massive lead. So I don't think anyone is going to catch Anthony McMillan in the race for the most hundreds in September. Had plenty of trade questions already, which I can't say I'm surprised by after I drop my pen. Let me pick it up here. I do that at least once a show and throw it around somehow. Will the Cowboys make a trade? I want honest answers here. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Do you think a trade will go down? Ecuador man says $1 million super chat. Here you go. It's funny. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let's see, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. I think they could make a trade. It's just not going to be the big splashy one that we want. I also think it's kind of funny that I made the comment of like, you got to go trade for Isaiah Land, and then he immediately gets a sack for the Colts. He also got a properly called roughing the passer penalty, but still, he was good as a pass rusher. He also played a little bit more, so maybe cross him off your list. Daniel wants Amari Cooper back. We will talk about Amari Cooper. In general, I have noticed some, I don't want to call it bad reporting, but miscommunications on what has actually been reported by others and how that gets converted into other things. And we'll talk about, we'll do an entire trade section. Let's put it that way on today's show. Now, if you are ready for us to get today's show started, then like the video. We're closer to 25% on the like ratio than we are the 50%, which isn't bad, but it's not as good as we would like it to be. So like that video if you are ready for us to start today's live show. I want to get to 100 likes here. I want to get to 100. We're at 75 right now. I think we can get to a third of the audience to like it. Not even a third of it. And that is a very obtainable goal metric. Before we start today's live show, we're at 90 likes, so I feel pretty good about that one there, Stone. Here is what is coming up live. I think I said that wrong somehow. Cowboys news and some rumors mixed in there. Cowboys trade rumors as well. We'll break down different reports connected players to the team, some of which is credible, some of which sometimes you have to discuss the things that aren't going to happen because people always ask me about it. A mailbag, 2 ways to get on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to skip the line. And we'll do a preview, Cowboys versus Steelers. All coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. Before we get into today's show, do you think, after the roughly quarter-way mark of the season, that the Cowboys will make the playoffs? Get those predictions/answers in for me. Y for yes, N for no. As of filming, the Cowboys not officially done, and they might not do it for a few days. At least, well, they have to, because it'll probably come to your practice squad more than that in a little bit. But the Cowboys have not put DeMarcus Lawrence on injured reserve yet, but that is the expectation. A Frank injury in his foot. That is going to sideline him for 4 to 8 weeks, according to ESPN's Todd Archer. That is not good news for Dallas. The injuries have been an issue for Tank Lawrence over the years. It's a big reason why Dallas didn't extend him this past offseason, playing the final year of his contract. He was off to a solid start this year, a little inconsistent overall, but it is a big-time loss for Dallas. Coupled with the high ankle sprain for Micah Parsons, which I think put him on ice until the bye week ends anyway. That leaves you in dire straits along your pass rush group. Your defensive ends, you're already down Sam Williams. You're number 3. You're down your number 1 in Micah Parsons. You're down number 2 in Tank Lawrence. Number 5 was supposed to be Junior Fehoko. He couldn't even make the roster. That leaves Marshawn Nealon, Chauncey Golston, mostly core special teamer Tyrus Sweet, and veteran pickup Carl Lawson, who I would fully anticipate being signed to the active roster before kickoff on Sunday. You got to do some roster gymnastics here because you might need to call up a cornerback again or a DB or maybe a running back. So I would fully expect to see Carl Lawson called up from the practice squad to the game day roster, which makes sense. Now, he has spent 2 games here on the practice squad, has been called up to the active roster twice now. That would give him one more freebie to get called up to the active roster and before he has to be there full time. So it doesn't make any sense to not call him up and make him a full-time player. You need the bodies. You need the numbers. You have to sign somebody else to the practice squad, frankly, too. You don't really have the available, because there's nobody else on the practice squad right now. You don't have the depth to not call him up. Now, Lawson hasn't done much this year. He hasn't made an impact. 2 games, no real stats there, but probably time to start considering that one. So what is the bigger loss of your 2 passers who are going to miss time? Probably at least off the bye week for Micah Parsons and longer for Tank Lawrence. Which one is the bigger loss? 11 for Micah Parsons, 90 for DeMarcus Lawrence. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Other speculatory ideas I've seen floated out there. A couple different outlets and fandom, and I floated it too, so it's worth having the conversation. Do you need to make a change at safety? The play from, I think, both Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson has really not been great. And different issues, miscues, I merged them into one word somehow. Neither guy has really played up to the level that I would like to see them play at. Neither guy has been impactful. It's in there. Has been dynamically, hasn't gone the way. Wilson's missed too many tackles. Malik Hooker has made too many mistakes out there. He missed 2 plays where he just should have had a pick and misjudged it, mistimed it, and almost allowed bigger plays. Neither guy has played the way that I want them to be playing, or the way I thought that they were going to be playing. And that is highly frustrating and highly concerning as far as I'm concerned too. So now the issue you run into is, hey, when is Marquise Bell fully healthy? Because he's coming off his ankle injury. I don't know how close he was really to playing on Thursday. He might not have played on Sunday if it had the extra days anyway. The 10-day time off might make it more viable. It's clearly been Hooker and Wilson. They also made Wilson a captain after I thought, a pretty rough Week 3 performance. So I would like to experiment here. I would like to try different things and see what they're able to do and make life better for these safety. Because I'm disappointed by it. I'm tired of being disappointed by this safety team. I had high expectations. I thought you had 4 NFL caliber players, and Hooker and Wilson have both been very disappointing. And if you want some better play out of your overall defense, I do think trying Wanye Thomas, trying a Marquise Bell is something that makes some sense. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event, whether that's college football, NFL, MLB postseason, concerts, comedy, theater, and anything else that falls into the bucket somewhere in between. Game Time also has a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes tickets to your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats. Don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's curation designed to make your life easier, to save more on sports and everything else in between. The lowest price guarantee from Game Time is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It's that simple. It's the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry through Game Time. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS Chat Sports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. We appreciate Game Time sponsoring us here at the Cowboys Report. We've talked about this a little bit, and there's been plenty of questions on it, and fans had also suggested it, so a good time to revisit it. Benching Tyler Guyton. And I see both sides. The first side of he has not played well enough. Showed a lot of promise in the preseason and training camp. You felt good about him, and then the bullets have started flying in real life, and it's a different animal altogether. And he's had too many penalties, which was a concern coming out of Oklahoma. The technique gets a little bit dicey at times as well. He's gotten beat too frequently. I think he's been the worst tackle on the team. I think Terrence Steele's been pretty good the past 2 weeks, frankly, but had some rough moments earlier this season. There's also a very valid question of okay, you bench him. What's your plan? Short-term and long-term. I've got thoughts on that here in a second, but first, would you bench Tyler Guyton? S, for you're gonna keep starting him. You're not doing it. B, for you want to bench him. Maybe it's just for a game. Maybe it's for longer. Let me know in the comments. S or B. Part of this whole conversation you have to have here is figuring out your plan. What are you going to do if it's not Tyler Guyton? Option 1 is just promote Awesome Richards. No other changes. Option 2 is you're going to try TJ Bass at left guard and Tyler Smith at left guard, and then you're benching Guyton and shuffling things around from that perspective. Those are 2 options you have because it's not Matt. Well, let's go. Promise you on that. Now, look, Guyton has had issues, and we all know that. He has to be better. I also believe this to be true. I think offensive lines, more than almost any unit in football, they need chemistry. And they need to have stability and consistency. When you don't have that, it is a cohesive unit. And when it's not cohesive, bad things can happen. So is Awesome Richards actually better than Tyler Guyton? Because I don't think that he is. I like him. I'm glad he's your swing tackle right now, your backup. I don't think he's a better football player right this second than Tyler Guyton is. I also want to point out this is a very valid question. If you have a new starter at left tackle and a new starter at left guard while you're still working at a new starter at center, is that actually a good thing for your offensive line? Or do you suddenly put more pressure on the interior of your offensive line because you're good at left tackle, but now your left guard center combo hasn't done much together and they get a little bit dicey, etc.? I think that could potentially cause more issues. You're creating 2 holes if you put Tyler Smith over at left tackle. Potentially, at least, creating 2 holes. Look, Tyler Guyton's raw. He's learning. This was a developmental pick. That's why it would be great to have Tyron Smith still on the team, right? And then you could let Guyton learn. So for now, and I was right to change my mind, but I think it's going to get better as the year goes on. I'd be concerned if it didn't, frankly. I'm going to keep playing him. I think the real live experience is important. Now, he's not going to get much TJ Watt this week because Watt is going to get a lot of Terrence Steele. That's where TJ Watt plays. I don't think he's not a bad player either. So it is still going to be a challenging week, I think, for Tyler Guyton. Now, we'll have more Cowboys videos for you each and every single day. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. More free Cowboys videos every single day. I do want to talk Brandin Cooks here before we sign off for today's show. I am not happy with his performance, and I'm frankly not happy with his usage. I think those are 2 different things. I need to see more out of Brandin Cooks. I don't mean force feed him targets, try to get him going. I think the targets are probably okay, maybe a couple more. Let's use him properly. He has not been as good in Dallas. His numbers have declined. And we have spent back-to-back preseason training camp going, wow, the Cook-Stack connection looks great. They're hitting deep shots. They're hitting deep balls. They're making big plays happen. And then we get to the actual games, and he's in the Michael Gallup role. I don't get it. This is not how you use Brandin Cooks. He is one of your only fast players, and you consistently run comeback routes with him. It's a lot of slants. It's a lot of hitches, a lot of comeback routes. I don't like it. You put him in the Michael Gallup role, and he's like 5'9". Why? There's way too many of those comeback routes. There's not nearly enough Do a deep dig. Do some crossers with it. Let him use his speed. There have been times Dak's been late getting the ball out. Ball's sailed high on him. It's not all Cooks' fault. He's not a contested catch guy. And when you're putting him into those contested catch situations, you're not using him right. He's been bad in contested catches this season. He's never been that great. Maybe deploy him the way he needs to be deployed. Put Tolbert in the contested catch route category. He's made a bunch of comeback plays in contested grabs for the Cowboys already this year. This is partially Brandin Cooks not playing as well, quarterback missing some throws, but most importantly, it's a coaching scheme issue. I don't understand why, Brandin Cooks comeback route, Brandin Cooks hitch. That's just not a good idea. Full stop. A super chat from Peacock One. We've also got a couple other ones from Ryder Kincaid and Marcus Arnold. And then what's up with the player bios? Yeah, it worked earlier. Grab Chris. Peacock One. Maybe throw Booth in as a safety experimenting. I don't think he's a safety. He made some good tackles. I also think that, if you're taking a corner who's never played safety and trying to him at safety, you're kind of admitting it's just not going to work. I have safeties. I have Marquise Bell. I have Wanye Thomas. I would like to just deploy those guys and put them out there if you're going to make changes at the safety spot. Let's go to Marcus Arnold's $5 super chat. I move Overshown into Micah's spot on passing downs, bring in an extra safety. Nealon can take D-Law spot, will be growing pains, worth a shot. I get what you're going for there. I do wonder if Overshown is just not a good enough pass rusher to hang there as an every down player. Now, what I think you might see the Cowboys deploy is I think you might see some more just linebacker blitzes, even if it's not necessarily in the Micah Parsons role. I think you could see a scenario where they bring more linebacker pressures. They bring more safeties from the box. And you could put, Overshown and, Donovan Wilson if he's still playing, or Marquise Bell if he gets more run, kind of lined up over the A-gap and bring some more pressures there. So I kind of like the last part there of passing down stuff, bringing an extra safety, etc. But I don't know if Overshown is as just replacing Mike as how you go about it, because I think he's at his best in coverage and pursuit plays. Don't think he's an elite pass rush player, so I do think that's a big question mark you need to try to find a way to answer in terms of what you have available on your roster there. Go to Ryder Kincaid's super chat as well. He says, the season is just a lost cause after both Parsons and D-Law going down. We are so effed with those two, I couldn't imagine without. I'll say this. There is a possibility that you get only 2 weeks without Micah Parsons. And it's still a huge loss of Tank Lawrence, and those are 2 games you're really going to miss out of Micah or whatever it is. I don't like we're just going to give up on the season after 4 games mindset. I get that we're disappointed. That's fine. And if you don't have confidence, I totally get that as well. But I do think that you have the ability and you have the talent to survive without those two and make your push into November once the schedule starts to get a little bit easier. So I don't necessarily want to give up on that. I get the general concern, general anxiety, all valid. Is there the older player bio that we can input? Yeah, I don't know that doesn't make any sense at all. So that behind the scenes issue we're dealing with there. So I don't want to bail on the season. I'm not quite at that point. Let's go to the score prediction. I know you guys are doing stuff there, but it's a little bit of a. There we go. So, score prediction for me of the Cowboys against the Steelers. Let me know in the comments what you guys have in this one. Sip some water. Calvin says 4 weeks for it's an ankle sprain. Yeah. 4 weeks is maybe 2 games for you. Now it's 3.5 weeks for 2 games though, because you have your bye. Plus you're already playing the Niners. You're working on that game anyway, even if he's not back. So I think you might be a game behind at most from what I had you predicted at. I'm not panicking yet on that front. I'm just not. 27-17 from Jenkins Gaming. That's, I guess, record prediction. I see 6-9. Or 6-9. That makes more sense. I know this about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They will find a way to do stupid stuff and win games. It is very frustrating. You can beat Pittsburgh, but they always find a way to voodoo themselves in. They always find a way. Get your score predictions in there. Cowboys against Steelers. Let's skip the Super Chat menu because we're kind of playing catch-up here. Get your score predictions in. Cowboys against the Steelers. We'll get to mine at the very end of today's show when we preview. Our first preview, I should say, of the week. So get those score predictions. We just get set up here for the next part of today's live show. If and when the Cowboys make moves, we're about to talk some trade rumors here on the Dallas Cowboys. We will make a video. That is the job. That is the whole point of subscribing to us here at the Cowboys Report. News happens. Boom, we got a video out for you. So don't miss out on any Cowboys news or moves or anything else in between. Hit that sub button right now. You knew trade rumors. Remember, we're going to talk about Haason Reddick. That was not a surprise, I think, to anybody watching today's show. They have emerged following the injuries to both Micah Parsons and Tank Lawrence. Both guys going to miss at least 2 weeks, probably 4+ for Tank Lawrence, and maybe get Micah back after the bye. I have seen across the board some, bad game of telephone going on, citing ESPN reports. This is what ESPN specifically wrote from Jeremy Fowler on the Cowboys' pass rush need. The Cowboys are looking at external options of pass rush with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence going down, but they will start in-house. As for external candidates, I'm told Haason Reddick of the Jets isn't a viable option via trade due to cost. So to be clear, this is not ESPN putting Reddick out there as a target, as a candidate. This is ESPN knows what we all know. Hey, that's a name you have to mention because he's out there and not playing. Everyone wants to know what's going on there, and ESPN says, yeah, don't get your hopes up. That's not reporting it's going to happen or anything like that. I saw that. That's not how it works. Doing the exact same thing I'm doing right now. Yeah, probably don't get your hopes up. Now, I get why so many of you have interest, and you should. He's a damn good football player. There's 2 players who have put up at least 11+ sacks over the past 4 years. It is in each of the past 4 years. It is Haason Reddick and Myles Garrett. That is it. The Eagles, per a rule that I did not know, I don't think many people knew, frankly, they cannot trade for him. NFL bylaws forbid it because they traded him to a different team previously in the same offseason. It's not actually possible. And you need pass rush help. Right now, it's Marshawn Nealon, Chauncey Golston, Tyrus Sweet, and I'd assume Carl Lawson gets the call up to the active game day roster. It's not a good group. Reddick instantly becomes your second best pass rusher even when everyone is healthy. That'd be a huge addition for Dallas. So that is the type of all-in move you would make if you were actually all in. But you're not all in. Not actually, are you? So I've got some in-depth looks at the issues here around a potential trade. Would you trade for him if you were GM Jerry or you've got GM Jerry fired and you took over? Would you trade for him? Pin comment on today's show. Go vote if the ad comes on YouTube. It's Y for yes, N for no. I would not get my hopes up here, as I mentioned previously. I think there's actually several different issues that you're going to run into. Now, when Jeremy Fowler mentions cost, I think he means one of 3 things, actually. Number 1, Reddick is due a $14.25 million base salary. Now, you don't owe all of that. You would owe the pro-rated figure, meaning whatever's left that hasn't been paid up already, or in this case, not paid up by the Jets since he's forfeited those game checks and base salary stuff. So you'd owe 14 divided by 18 times however many games left. Call it 7 or 8, basically. It's doable for a team with plenty in cap space. Now, they might not want to pay him because ability to pay and choosing to pay are 2 very different things, as we've seen with Derrick Henry. Also, the whole issue in New York is that Haason Reddick wants a new deal. Now, is he willing to play for the remaining base salary. Maybe. Maybe he just wants out of New York now because he's mad at him. That's certainly a possibility. Only way to find out is to call. The other issue is, what are the Jets open to doing with him? They moved a 3rd-round pick for him. And to trade him for a 5th would be a pretty big, hey, we screwed up, when that entire regime is already kind of on the hot seat. And they also need him out there. Plus, their GM, Joe Douglas, does not like Stephen Jones. They had issues over the whole Jamal Adams thing. Because the Jets think the Cowboys leaked it. And they were probably right. So costs could mean the current cost for Haason Reddick, the trade cost, or the extension cost. All 3 things that Dallas historically doesn't like doing at the deadline outside of wide receiver. Plus, honestly, guys, should the Cowboys be buyers? Reddick makes you better. Unquestionably makes you better. Does it make you better enough? Or are you better off keeping your powder dry for next offseason when you can have big-time salary cap space and all your picks available to you? Some other edge targets that have been linked out there, these per Sports Illustrated: Jadeveon Clowney of the Panthers and Azeez Ojulari of the New York Football Giants. I think both are more affordable and also feasible trade targets. We'll get to them here in a second. But first, what do you think the Cowboys will do? Will they trade for a pass rusher? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments of today's video. Jadeveon Clowney is off to a okay start. Now, it's Carolina, and they are bad. They also lost Shaq Thompson to an injury. That defense is decimated. It is gutted. I bet they would love to trade Clowney and get somebody back after he had a bounce-back year in Baltimore. Also, not that expensive, so it's a little bit more doable than what it would have been for the Haason Reddick trade idea. Clowney is also from the area. Maybe he wants to stay there. He's burnt some bridges previously. You almost got to vet the player as much as you do the person when it comes to that. Another dark horse option here is Azeez Ojulari, who has never been the most productive sack getter over the course of his NFL career. He's done some nice stuff. Funnily enough, has the exact same stat line as Jadeveon Clowney this season. I was kind of blown away and surprised with that. He had 4 tackles before the past 2 games. Now has 9 tackles of late. Ojulari does. I like a lot of what I've seen out of him. I wasn't expecting. I thought he was going to be a little bit better, but as like a sub-pass rusher, he's not the biggest guy. I have some interest there. Now, he's the 3rd best pass rusher on the Giants. Maybe they don't want to do an in-division trade, and yes, I'm kind of scraping the barrel there. It is September. You're trying to find a March upgrade. It's tough to do. Now, speaking of the defense, you can get the turnover chain from our friends over at Fanatics. It is available, oftentimes on sale, by the way. Chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. Get your own today. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Also, back in the trade rumors of DeAndre Hopkins. Katie Drummond, friend of the show, Cowboys Wire, suggesting it, and I get why it's suggested. Now, this is being filmed before Monday Night Football, so we'll see how that goes for Tennessee and Hopkins involved there. But the talent is still pretty solid. Not as good as what it's been previously. He did have a bounce-back year in Tennessee, had a pretty big target share, stuff that's all valuable. I don't think you're getting, 1,400, 1,500-yard receiver in DeAndre Hopkins anymore. I do think he instantly and easily becomes your number 2 wide receiver. And if you're adamant about doing guys on comeback routes, hitch routes, and just not getting creative, Hopkins actually fits that pretty well. You could put him in the Michael Gallup role and utilize Brandin Cooks as more of a vertical threat. Plus, Hopkins can also do some vertical stuff for you and do more creative stuff with Cooks too. The one big issue here, beyond the fact that Hopkins wanted to be in Dallas previously and Dallas said no and then traded for Brandin Cooks, funnily enough, beyond that, they may have the best relationship. He's owed around $11.5 million for the remainder of the season. Now, that's got some incentive stuff there, so it's a little bit of, maybe he hits it, maybe he doesn't. But again, would Dallas pay that? They're cheap. I want you guys to name a player who you want to trade for. Let me know in the comments section of today's show, what player do you want to go out and acquire if you ran the Cowboys organization? I fully expect there's lots of Amari Coopers in the comments after I asked that last question. The trade rumors are back, and ESPN has pushed possibility of a trade, particularly to the Chiefs, even though I don't know about that one because Rashee Rice is basically a slot receiver and is utilized like Travis Kelce is. Cooper's not that guy. I don't know if that's actually all that feasible. What has happened on this film on Monday, obviously. What has happened today on Monday? Spotrac tweeted this out that the Browns converted Cooper's base salary into a signing bonus. This is accurate. He's owed right now less than $1 million at the trade deadline. $600K. It is eminently affordable. If the Browns, that's eminently is wrong there. Eminently? I think it's eminently. He is very much affordable if the Browns chose to trade him. What happened, though, is there was no, timing in the tweet of when it happened, even though Spotrac had tweeted out previously. That decision to convert the base salary is not a new move. It is not. They did that in July. They did that around training camp time when Amari was holding out. That is not a brand new, wow, the Browns are trying to trade him. They ate a bunch of money already. No, it's already been the case. It has been that way for months. It just now has a different angle. Instead of the Browns saving money for the future and being aggressive and building a roster to win now, and they always do that stuff with their big-time player contracts, now it's like, okay, well, now he's cheap to trade for if that were to happen. I think Amari misses Dallas to an extent. I think Dak Prescott misses him too. I don't know if the Cowboys front office would say, you know what, we screwed up by shipping you out for a fifth. Here's a draft pick back. And the Browns, trying to make a playoff run despite being pretty poor as of late, don't have the receivers to get by without Amari Cooper. I am unconvinced they trade happens, especially for the Cowboys. But be a free agent after this year. I will push it then for sure. It's mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. 2 ways to get on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to get on air. I got Wild Nuts 28, DMV, DVM, and Marcus Arnold. With those in the mailbag. So get those questions in. Hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to skip the line. I'm going to sip some water here. It's got caffeine in it. It's not just water. But Super Chat menu is this. $20 for a shot. $50 for a beer bong. $100 for the bong, slap, and shot trio pack. Most hundreds in September gets a full-size Cowboys helmet. Right now it is Anthony McMillan in a runaway. Wouldn't expect anyone catches up, but maybe that'll change in today's mailbag. You guys are watching the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. It's a mailbag. We answer your questions. First up, some super thanks from Richard Robinson. We just can't have nice things. Look at how Derrick Henry ran through us in Buffalo. Oh, what could have been? Fire the GM. You could have afforded Derrick Henry. Don't let Jerry Jones gaslight you into saying you couldn't do it. You absolutely could have done so. You had the money then. You definitely have the money now. You could have freed up more money if you wanted to even. The issue was they didn't want to spend at the running back spot at that cost at that age. If the issue is Jerry doesn't want to come out and say that, and he won't admit that he was wrong. So that's why he's lying about not having enough salary cap space available. They had it. They absolutely did. I'll also say this. I think the Ravens have done a great job of utilizing Derrick Henry. I don't think this offensive scheme that the Cowboys are in, this inside zone stupidity, and the way they block it, I don't think Derrick Henry would have had as much success in Dallas. But it definitely would have been better than what you've gotten out of Ezekiel Elliott. And even Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, and whatever you're going to get out of Dalvin Cook. And that came in via Super Thanks. It is a feature here on YouTube. It's just like a Super Chat, but on demand. Because if you can't watch a show live, well, you want to get your question answered, you do a Super Thanks. Edit your message, send in whatever you want, and we'll give you a shout out and or answer your question on the show. Got a $10 Super Thanks from Adam. We could have gone all in or tanked this year. We're stuck in the middle with a nice 9-win season looming. The Joneses can't even suck correctly. That was a point I made so many times during this offseason. You had to make a decision. Either be aggressive and win now or rebuild. And they didn't make that decision, truly did not make it, until about 5 hours before kickoff of week 1 when they paid Dak Prescott. They have made their decision now. It's too late for 2024, though. They're going to have their window in 25, 26, 27, 28, etc. Maybe a little bit after that, maybe not. Maybe it gets closed before that, even if injuries, whatever happen, etc. You waited too long to pay Dak Prescott and Sam, and you missed your window to make your team better in 2024. Now, the 2025 outlook looks a lot better. You can have $100 million in salary cap space with ease, draft picks, potentially a new coaching staff, some renewed hope, etc. But I think 9-10 wins is what you're set up for now, because you let yourself get worse, and you're paying the price for it on the field right now. I want you guys to predict the Cowboys' record this season. They're currently 2-2. They get 9 wins. 10 wins as I predicted. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's video. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Wild Nuts 28. I think we were outcoached against the Giants, like most games. We won because we had the better quarterback. What head coach should we look at for next season? Lots of them. I want a real coaching search. I want to interview Ben Johnson. You want to interview Bill Belichick? Sure. Mike Vrabel? Sure. Brian Flores? You got it. You want to interview Bobby Slowick? You want to interview Clint Kubiak? Awesome. You should do a dozen interviews, at least in round 1. That should be all the Jones boys focus on. I don't care about vacations. I don't care about any of that stuff. Do your damn coaching search properly. Don't interview the bare minimum in back-to-back coaching searches and interview the first guy that you meet. Do a real search. I would love Ben Johnson. A little bit more risk involved there, but he's an innovative offensive mind. I love what he does on offense. That's the route I would go. But I want to interview people. That way, because it's tough to hire a head coach. The stuff that gets you hired as head coach is not what's going to make you a good head coach, right? You're a great offensive mind. Awesome. We want you. That's half the job now. Got to do a real search. DVM. Eagles, Niners, contenders in our situation would have a sense of urgency. Go out and acquire a player to give the team a better chance. Yes. Yes, they would. The Cowboys do not operate like that. Simply don't. I also wonder if you don't have the same urgency either. That's the downside of having no actual GM, of ownership being so heavily involved. If they miss the playoffs, they're not the ones getting fired. McCarthy is. In Philadelphia, San Francisco, those guys miss the playoffs. Their butts are on the line. It's not the case in Dallas. I'm just call him ELC because I didn't know it was a weird name. Says thanks. They was trade away Trey Lance for a defensive tackle. If you could find a good defensive lineman, period, or a wide receiver or a running back, hell yeah, let's ride. I don't think that's going to happen. The reason why so many of us have interested in trading away Trey Lance, because he was bad in the preseason. He had a terrible third game. Other NFL teams have film too. And they're going to go, why are we taking on this half-year rental that isn't ready to play right now and needs development? Doesn't really make much sense. So you can try. It's not a good trading front office, but my hopes are zero right now. So will the Cowboys trade Trey Lance? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Marcus Arnold. Trading your second-round pick would be better than actually using the pick in the draft. First up, yeah, they've got a bad track record in the second round. Hopefully Marshall Nealon can break it. He likes the Clowney idea, does not like the Amari Cooper idea. Again, on Amari, the Cowboys let it get personal. They didn't like that he wasn't vaccinated. And even though it wasn't going to be an issue anymore, they got all mad with him and bited him in the media and then traded him. I wonder how that relationship is between all parties involved. Because that would be Dallas coming back and saying, we made a mistake. And that's not how the Jones boys tend to do business. Today's show was made possible by Game Time. They got a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. Makes it so your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. It is simply curation designed to help you find the best price on great seats, save time, and save money. All-in pricing feature. You toggle it, it'll see your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. And the game time guarantee means you'll always get the best price on your tickets. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today because what time is it? It's game time. From Brit Harry. If that was only with one T, I would have thought if it was like Harry, the Prince Harry, whatever it was, the Brit guy. Would you trade for Davante Adams? I have real doubts that the Cowboys would even consider doing it. I don't like there's money involved. He makes you better. I have doubts on the Cowboys side of things. Specifically, the Raiders side, I also have doubts. They trade with Davante Adams. They're saying we're done with the season. We're punting already. And that does not go over very well in a locker room. In a bubble, he makes you so much better. He helps you do all the things that you need to do on offense there. So from that angle, from that perspective, I have interest. I think from a practicality perspective, how feasible could this actually be? You know, it kind of starts to border onto the Madden trade idea. Of like, I can make it work in Madden, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I can actually make it work in real life. So it's a fun idea. It's an all-in idea. The Davante Adams trade rumors certainly are not going to stop anytime soon. But I also don't want to give false hope of like, yeah, they can get Davante Adams. You know, this is not how this organization does business. Like the Jets, I'm sure, are trying to talk themselves into how can we get Davante Adams? How can we make that work? We need him. We got to go win now. They have desperation. As an organization, you don't. You don't have that same level of desperation right now, and it shows in everything that you do. Even if you had the desperation, I don't know if the other team involved would really show that much interest in it. I would have some big-time question marks and some doubts in terms of how feasible that would, potentially even realistically be able to be on that front. So when it comes to trades in general, do you think the Dallas Cowboys will make a trade and try to get better and make this team better? Go vote for me in the comments section of today's show. It is a 1 for yes or a 0 for no. Let me know. 1 or 0 in the comments section. Jenkins Gaming. If Dallas traded for Reddick right now, how soon would he be game time ready? Playable in a game? In theory, in time for Sunday, depending on when you did it. But at this point, maybe give him the 5 days, whatever. Like 100% ready to go. Act like prime Reddick. You missed a lot of time. You kind of got to factor. That's a very good question. You have to factor that in. He might not be the same guy we've seen previously because he's missed so much time already. Daniel M. I think the Cowboys are going to make a trade for the deadline. They can't go deep in the year with no receiver 2, no RB1, no pass up. We need Reddick and Amari. That's fine if you want those guys. I don't think there's a chance. I think there's a chance that neither of those guys get dealt. Period. Just have to admit their mistake. Cowboys got to spend money on both players. Browns trade Amari Cooper. They're kind of like, yeah, we're out for the season. It takes two teams to trade, and you've identified the needs. Absolutely. Does that mean you can make it happen? I'm not so sure. We got free Cowboys videos every single day. So make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. From Johnny Lopez. Would you trade Parsons for multiple picks and or players? His ads have become more of a distraction. Hasn't been very productive. Couple notes. I think the ads has actually been better this year, like in season. I think he's done everything that's been asked of him. The podcast stuff is the podcast stuff. It is what it is at this point. He's been good. The production's down. I don't necessarily think that is because Micah's not played well. Turns out you can't rush the passer on like two true drop back sets. I do think you have to make a decision, though. If you're going to pay him before free agency. And if you're not going to pay him, trade him. Because you can get a big haul back, or you can keep your premier pass rusher. Make your decision, and then don't drag it out and not have the cap space available. That's what I would do. King Trill. This is a great point here for our final question. With how things ended in Dallas with the Jones boys, would Cooper even want to come back to Dallas? It's a very valid question. I don't know. He said about talking about the Cowboys when they played him that week, so maybe he's still open to it. He still lives in Dallas. Granted, a lot of players do outside of the Cowboys team. I also think that, do the Jones boys want him back? That's admitted that they were wrong, that they screwed up. They don't like doing that. They still won't admit that running back's a need. They still think that their team they did everything right this offseason. They're a little bit delusional from that point. So I think that is a very valid point to bring up, King Trill, and you might be right. All right, the Super Chat menu. $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $100 for the bong, slap, and shot trio pack, $100 for the custom Cowboys jersey. The most hundreds in September, which right now is a runaway for Anthony McMillan, gets the full-sized Cowboys mini helmets. I think at this point, it's Anthony's going to win that one. So we'll get to our final segment on today's show, but just as that reminder, that is today's Super Chat menu. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Roan. I am rocking one of their polos. It is my favorite one that I own, and you should go get one as well. Roan.com/chatsports and use code ChatSports saves you 20% off your entire order. Now we're going to preview Cowboys and the Steelers, a old rivalry, AFC, NFC, a big game for both teams. If you want the Cowboys to beat the Steelers, you got to like the video. We have the data to prove it. The more likes we get, the more wins the Cowboys end up getting, and the more likely it is they win each game. Let's make sure we crush our Steelers channel in likes this week. Like the video right now. It is a Sunday night football matchup to open up the October slate for the Cowboys. The Steelers, as of filming, this line might fluctuate some, are a 1-point favorite at home. Cowboys have technically a top 10 scoring offense. Doesn't necessarily feel like that. They have a almost bottom 5 scoring defense. Does feel like that. Pittsburgh offense has not been that great. We'll talk about that in a little bit. They're 21st in scoring. But they have one of the best defenses in football. Again, this is Steelers football. The offense doesn't look very good, and the defense plays out of its damn mind almost every game. If you don't like that, you just don't like Steelers football. Some injuries I want to get into here. First up is Micah Parsons, and I would be shocked if he played next week, let alone this upcoming week. I think he is out through at least the bye. He will not participate Wednesday in practice and throughout the week as well. He is in a boot and has the scooter. They're going to try to get that high ankle sprain to heal as quickly as possible, but it's going to take time for Micah Parsons. He will not go, I don't think, against the Steelers. He said he wants to, but I think he's kind of resigned himself to that fact as well. 2 injuries to monitor that maybe they're good to go. Marquise Bell was hurt in week 3. The short turnaround meant he could not go in week 4. He was listed as doubtful with that ankle injury. I don't know how close he really was to playing. Didn't practice all week. I think we'll know by Thursday. If Bell is limited on Thursday, I think that gives him a real shot of playing, and maybe playing more, given the struggles you've seen with Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker. Then there's Kalen Carson, who is battling a shoulder injury. Again, Thursday will give us a good indication. DNPs on Wednesdays are one thing. If you're DNP on Thursday too, it makes it kind of tough to make anything happen. He's been up and down, more downs as of late. Also a good question mark of if Carson can't go, who's the other corner? Because they tried Andrew Booth and they benched him. And they made Amari Ojulari a play. He had the game-stealing pick and I thought was better than Andrew Booth was. But, man, that's a practice squatter you're banking on to start. I think they'd like to have Carson back despite some struggles, especially in week 2 and in week 3. He was pretty good against the Browns, though. So we got in this one. It is the pinned comments on today's video. C for the Cowboys, S for the Steelers. That ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Let's talk keys to victory. Number 1, a thing you have consistently struggled with. you got to stop the mobile quarterback. You have to find a way to limit what Justin Fields does outside of the pocket and on the run. Now, his passing stats this year have been pretty solid. A very high completion percentage. Has been a lot of short stuff, a lot of easy stuff in the Arthur Smith offense. Positive EPA per play. Only 3 touchdowns, only 830 yards. And what's most noteworthy to me, the Steelers have let Fields run, / Fields has run. 38 carries, only 145 yards. Now, some of those are scrambles, some of those are designed. That's under 4 yards per carry. In a way that we don't always see with running quarterbacks and mobile quarterbacks, the quarterback run has not actually been that efficient in Pittsburgh. It has had issues. He's also got 4 fumbles this year. Now, he only lost 1 of them, but that ball can end up on the ground. And when it does, you got to recover it. He had a nice day against the Indianapolis Colts. I kind of thought probably had one of his better days, even in a loss. They did score 24 points, but he had 10 carries, 55 yards, 2 scores. He threw for 300 yards. I think it was his best game of the season. They still lost. Defense didn't have their best stuff, and what amounts to 2 lost fumbles, 3 total, was bad for Pittsburgh. Fields can be a bit of a chaos agent, and those plays can hurt you, or they can help you. Today's show is made possible by Roan. I rock the polo as much as I possibly can, and from a cleanliness perspective at least. But the male closet was due for radical reinvention, and Roan has stepped up to the challenge. They have stuff for every occasion: pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, polos like I'm wearing, blazers, and even more. Their signature 4-way stretch fabric is breathable, flexible, and leaves you free to enjoy whatever life ends up throwing your way. Get unparalleled confidence without all the hassle. The Commuter Collection also features wrinkle release technology and is 100% machine washable. The Roan Commuter Collection gets you through any workday and right into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS. Save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you go to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS. Find your corner office comfort today with Roan. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Go check it out and upgrade your closet in the process. Number 2, key to victory. This kind of ties into number 1 as well. Run defense has to show up. The Giants did not run the ball effectively. As a result, your numbers are better across the board. You are now only 27th in rushing yards allowed per game, 21st in yards per carry, 31st in EPA per rush because they give up some third downs. Still bad in yards after contact in particular. There's a lot of numbers on there, I know. Teams have had success getting the ball to the outside, breaking tackles. That could be an issue against the Pittsburgh Steelers, more so than it was against the New York Football Giants. Now, these Steelers are 10th in yards per game on the ground, but it's not because of efficiency. Pittsburgh does not have an efficient ground game. They have a volume-based ground game, where they run the ball a lot, but they're still not great in yards after contact, not great in yards per carry, too many fumbles, not great success rate, but they stick with it. They will run the ball. Now, they haven't seen very many stacked boxes this year. They've actually seen more light boxes because of some of the personnel stuff they're able to do that Arthur Smith does. The Cowboys, when they deploy their different boxes, it's not great. They are great in neutral box looks, which is probably like more often than not comes in like neutral situations. Only allowing 3.4 yards per carry. Like most teams against light box, they get gashed. Except your team. Your team can't run the ball against light box, which is frustrating. They also are dead last in stacked box percentages. If I'm Pittsburgh, this is what I'm doing. I look at my team and okay, I've got Darnell Washington, I've got Pat Fryermuth, I got Connor Hayward. Let's go heavy. Cowboys can't stop me with their heavy personnel. Let's go with the big boys. Washington, let's run the football outside with our tackles, with our tight ends blocking. That is what I would do if I were Pittsburgh. Will they? We'll find out. What is your concern level over the Cowboys' run defense right now? I want honest answers here. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Number 3, you've got to generate pressure somehow. And that is, frankly, you need to do that, and you need to do it before you lost all these guys. You've not been successful as a pass rushing team. You've had too many issues here. The flip side is for Pittsburgh, they can get after. They've got issues. Troy Fautano's on IR. James Daniels is on IR. Nate Herbig's on IR. They're starting a rookie center, just like he's pretty damn good, though. A rookie right guard, and Mason McCormick. Dan Moore is not great. The left guard is also banged up. If I'm Dallas, I am deploying my double A gap bug looks. That's what I'm doing. Because I'm not going to have Micah. I'm not going to have Tank Lawrence. I'm going to need something out of Osa, something from Marshawn Nealand. I might bring some linebackers and safeties. They've blitzed a lot trying to generate pressures, but haven't gotten home yet. But this defensive line for Dallas, it's kind of a matchup of weaknesses right now. Pittsburgh's offensive line is also pretty damn banged up. We will be live for the Cowboys versus Steelers game. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Number 4, you got to force feed CeeDee Lamb. Joey Porter Jr. is a fun corner. He is beatable. Their nickel corner spot is Beanie Bishop Jr., who's a UDFA. They're going to try to double team Lamb, I bet. Maybe they try some Minkah Fitzpatrick stuff. But they don't have a player who can cover Lamb one-on-one. So force feed him. You did a great job of that in the first half last week. Awesome job getting the ball, and then you went away from it. 2 targets in the second half. You got to be better than that. You have to be. Get him the ball. You are going to win games with your not great offensive line, with your banged up defense overall, by getting CeeDee Lamb going. If he has a great game, and by extension, Dak Prescott has a great game too, probably, you're going to have success, or at least give yourself a chance to win games. Your offensive game plan needs to be, how do we get CeeDee Lamb as many targets as humanly possible? We know that running backs kind of can get too many touches. I want to see if that's true for a wide receiver. Let's see what can happen, because you're probably not going to get as many as you want to anyway. So give me your score predictions. I'll get them on at the end of today's video for the Cowboys against the Steelers. Let me know in the comments section of today's show what you think the final score ends up being. Number 5, key to victory, Dak Prescott deals. And all the things that go into part of this. Can you protect him? We will talk about Terrence Steele, TJ Watt matchup later this week. They're the ground game. We will talk about all of that. But this team, you saw it against the Giants. You want to win games? Your passing offense has to carry you. I would like to do some more deep shots. I'd like to do some more stuff downfield, but you have to get the quarterback going, and he has to play great. This team is not good enough right now to not get consistent top 10 play out of Dak Prescott. You know, other teams will be able to survive an early INT from their quarterback like the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. That's not how it's going to work in Dallas. You don't have Steve Spagnuolo. You don't have that defense. You need big games out of your quarterback. Dak leads the NFL in tight window throws. It's not great. It's too high. I think it's a heavy schematic issue. One area where the quarterback can be better. Last year on third downs, they led the NFL in third down EPA per play, 0.433. That is unbelievable. That is MVP stuff. Like, that is better than what Mahomes does overall, let alone on normally obvious passing downs. He was first in the NFL. This year, still positive, but right about league average. Now, a big factor in that is they faced some really bad third and longs, and they've had some big plays negated by penalties. All that goes into it. It's a passing offense success metric, basically, which isn't always just the quarterback, but he's the most impactful part of it. I need better from Dak. You saw it in the last 5 quarters. He's been very, very good. I need more of that going forward. As promised, my score prediction. I think you can beat Pittsburgh. Now, they do weird voodoo stuff, and they always find ways to win games, and it's super frustrating, but you can beat them if you have a good game plan and your coaching staff does its job, and everyone does its job too. It will be a dog fight, I think, down to the wire in what might be an ugly game since the Steelers' defense is so good. I got Dallas winning 24-23. Ojulari let that deal. Why are not involving Turpin more in the offense? Why did not get Xavier Worthy in this year's draft? So 3 different comments. I agree on the let Dak deal one. They don't view Turpin as a real receiver. I might not agree with it, but they don't view him as someone that can do all the full route. Even though he did it against the Ravens late. You know, they view him as a gadgety guy. He's more Tavon Austin than he is anything else. for this organization. As for why you didn't draft Xavier Worthy, you couldn't. You had to get a left tackle. You didn't have one. That's what happens when you rely entirely on the NFL draft. You couldn't take a receiver. That was a luxury pick you could not afford because you have guys that you like. If you had brought back Tyron Smith, maybe you could have. I'll also say this. I don't think Xavier Worthy is as good without Andy Reid. He'll maximize Xavier Worthy's skill set. I don't think Mike McCarthy would have. So will the Cowboys make the playoffs? It is a narrow race right now. 51% voting no, 45% voting yes. So get those answers in for me. Will the Cowboys make the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. It's about as close as we've ever seen a poll there, Stone. It's not really all that close. All right, before we go, the live show schedule this week. Back live again, 3:50 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. And again, 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time for a little extra early show for Sunday Night Football. Make sure you guys are subscribed. More videos throughout the week. See you live again on Thursday.